Let's
Bring it
go.
back. Bring it back. Bring it back.
Welcome to episode 4, Fade the Deuce, College Football Week 3, NFL Week 2. Joined as always, Kevin Duce and Matt McCumber. Welcome back, Matt, live in living color.
No chiseled chin on this one. Okay, we're good.
Yeah, but you got a lot of compliments. People wish they had the chin you do. So you take the compliments where you can get them.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
So before we dive into this week's smorgasbord of football action, let's go over last week. Matt, I think you're the upswing. So how did you do? What was your highlight? What was the highlight for you of last week?
I thought I called Colorado perfectly. I handicapped it on both ends there. Colorado -3, and also took the under 59.5 for my lock of the week. And as I had said on my stream, I thought it was definitely, the market had seen the first week of Colorado at TCU, and they kind of were overcompensating there. And I knew Nebraska would try to slow it down. So I thought that number was a little too high, and it was. And I think I said 35-14 or 35-17, and ended up 36-14. So was right there.
Kev, what was your highlight? It looked like you two had a pretty similar week. But one thing I've noticed for you people, if you're listening close, Kevin is 3-0 on his locks.
That's right.
Big time. Indianapolis gave Jacksonville a better game than I thought, and they still ended up being 14. Yeah, I was a little worried there for a minute. But Texas, I think that just the breakdown, I really thought Texas had the better quarterback, and I think it showed on Saturday. To the point that I've heard on some talk shows that Nick Saban talked about possibly pulling Milroe from the game and going with their backup. And I think the kid's a pretty good quarterback, but Quinn Ewers is pretty special. So I was proud of that pick. I hate both teams, so it was easy.
Yeah. Right.
I got to be honest with you, though. I think Anthony Richardson showed a little bit, and Pittman kind of woke back up, so he's become a viable threat. I didn't draft him in my fantasy because I'm thinking Anthony Richardson, he's not going to give him it,
Yeah, that's like my Garrett Wilson, second round, third round pick or whatever. It's looking a little iffy now.
So
what a catch, though!
Oh my goodness! And how about that kick punt return for a touchdown? Oh my God! For a guy who just last week found out he made the team.
Yeah, he followed Hard Knocks. That was pretty cool.
Yeah,
Sports. That's why we love sports. That's why you don't see me talking politics on X. You don't see me talking religion on X, because it don't get better than sports. So
it doesn't.
All right, let's hop into it. First game on the docket: Kansas State Wildcats head to Miznos in Columbia, Missouri. It looks like the line is, let me see it. I have it here. There we go. Is it Kansas State's a 5-point favorite?
Yep.
So, Matt, we're going to start with you on this one.
Okay. I follow Kansas State pretty regularly just because I was there for some time, for 4 years. So I still follow the Wildcats, and what Chris Klieman's been able to do there, unbelievable job. Will Howard, I don't think he gets the respect he deserves. Really solid quarterback, can pass it, can run it. I think he had over 250 yards last week, 3 TDs. Their defense has been outstanding. I think number 1 in the nation in rush defense. On paper, this is Kansas State all day long. But I'm going to go a little sacrilegious here and take the Missouri Tigers +5 at home. And I'll do that because this is K-State's first true road game. SEC opponent, not that it really matters. Big 12's held their own, but I still think Kansas State is definitely the better team here. I don't know what it is, but I just have a feeling that Mizzou is here. Their quarterback, they're a little more balanced on offense to try to run the ball. So that's going to be the key here. K-State's front 7 and defense rushing versus Missouri's offense. And I'll take the Tigers +5 at home. Both 2-0 teams. I think Kansas State still wins this game, but I think it's 3 points.
Kevin?
This is what everybody tunes into for, like, this real in-depth breakdown that I'm going to do here. Fuck Missouri. I hate them. Like, I mean, there's like I don't hate any team. I think like I hate them. Anybody who's ever been to a bragging rights game in St. Louis for basketball or football, I can't stand them. This is a team that struggled with Middle Tennessee State. I like Will Howard. I like the better quarterback there. I see this being 27-14, something like that. The line opened at 1, got up to 5. It's 4.5 now. I like it even more at 4.5 than 5. Obviously, so I don't have to. I mean, avoid the push there a little bit. I think Kansas State 27-14. Dabble on the under there. I love their defense. I like Will Howard. Give me Kansas State there.
And I thought, while you summed it up perfectly, I thought there couldn't be any better disrespect than me putting Ms. Nas down. I mean, I felt like Missouri fan holding up the signs. Upside down. Yeah.
I refuse to capitalize the M there. I call him Miss Who or Misery, Misery. I just, dude.
I was tempted to put Misery, but I'm like, Ms. Nas is good enough.
I was at the game when they tackled the Chief. I was there that day. I was getting a beer, thank goodness.
And I was in the locker room.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was
as a student manager, and I came out to the tunnel at halftime because we had to get the balls together to get ready for second half. And a fan ran down and said they just tackled the Chief during halftime, and I ran in and told everybody in the locker room, and it went crazy. But that was something I never saw it live, obviously, but.
Yeah, I was there the Nick where Nick Smith made a big shot late in the game. I think it was like 03-04 season, the 03 game. It was pretty awesome. I can't stand them. I just can't stand their fans. I don't like anything about them. I think Kansas State's the better team, so give me the points. I'll give the points and call it a day.
They are the better team. I agree.
Before we move on to the next game real quick, were you a student manager all 4 years you were there?
Yeah, from 01 to 05.
So then you had Bill Self and Bruce Weber.
I did 2 years with Coach Self, 2 years with Bruce.
So if Bill Self happened, you just ran into him, he'd know you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And I was gonna say we still kept in touch. Obviously, we were in the same league, and we would always, chat real quick before we played them and stuff like that. So
yeah.
And to Bill Self's credit, one of the reasons why he is who he is because he is that guy that doesn't forget you, right? I mean, like I've heard stories from people here in Oklahoma City that have said the same thing. Like,
he's an unbelievable dude. Absolutely.
All right. Well, let's transition a little bit towards the Big Ten. And, Minnesota always seems to have a nice cupcakey schedule, in preseason, pre-Big Ten season, that they seem to always be like 3-0. That's really going to be put to a test this week as they travel to North Carolina. They've got Drake May, who's a guy who's going to be probably coming up for ACC Player of the Year, front runner, maybe a Johnny Unitas Award type deal. So this is going to be a tough one. It's in Chapel Hill. Kevin, we'll start with you. It's North Carolina is a 7.5-point favorite at home.
Yeah, it's a lot of points to give to a really good defense, a defense that I think is probably one of the top in the nation. That being said, I have real concerns about Minnesota's offense. They've scored 38 points in 2 weeks.
Yep.
We saw Colorado hang 35 on Nebraska's D. Who did Minnesota play last week? Eastern Michigan, something like that. Yeah, 25-6 there. So here's the thing. I don't think Minnesota can score enough to stay within the number. And this is a weird line for me. I think the over under is 48.5. And I'm like, I'm normally like taking a team a favorite with that spread. You would lean towards the over. I lean towards the under in this game as well. I see this being like 24-14, 24-13. This is a North Carolina team that sacked Spencer Rattler 9 times. And Minnesota just does not have any threats on the offensive side of the ball. I think they're going to give North Carolina some trouble with their defense, but they're not going to be able to score enough to stay within that number.
I couldn't agree more, Kev. Everything you just said is exactly what I was going to say, especially with it's it's the Minnesota run game versus the front seven of UNC, which they've been really, really good, as you mentioned with the sacks against Spencer Rattler. Last week, Minnesota held the ball for almost 40 minutes. Can they do that? Can UNC defense get them off the field so they get the ball back in Drake May's hands to score? I think they'll have a little bit better success than Eastern Michigan did last week. And I like a team that can score. Yes, Drake May is trying to still fill out his receivers because Tez Walker, obviously, that's big hoolabah this week. He is not eligible for the rest of the season. They were really counting on him. So Drake May's kind of dealing with some guys that are inexperienced, but I'll take the team that can score and put up points. And Minnesota is at a Iowa type level here of trying to score on offense. So give me the team that can score. I'm going to take UNC and the points.
And not only that, I mean, North Carolina's found a running back in Hampton. Guy had 230 yards.
200, yeah.
So
I just, I'm obviously a neutral host or whatever, but I just can't see a Minnesota team who is averaging, 18, 19 points a game through 2 games, and that was including a middling Eastern Michigan team involved in that. So I just can't see how they score more than 20 on North Carolina. Tops, maybe a little less. So I'm thinking North Carolina is going to win by at least 2 scores. So, right, good for them, because it was about time Minnesota played somebody tough in the non-con. So, staying in the Big Ten, this is an interesting matchup. The number's really big, but there's a lot going on with Michigan State. So, Washington travels and does the return trip to East Lansing. So if you remember last year, Michigan State traveled up to Seattle and played a Washington team who beat them up pretty good. Yeah. And I think that's probably going to happen again this year. The number is 16.5 in East Lansing. It's a lot of points. There's obviously a lot going on with suspended coach Mel Tucker. There's a lot of, and here's the thing. I don't really know how much that's going to play into that with this team, because we saw what happened with a bunch of suspense and suspensions and uncertainty when they came to Champaign.
You're stealing my thunder.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! I'm sorry. I did my homework. All right, Kevin.
No,
what say you?
I started last one. Go with Matt. It's fine.
Well, Matt, I can keep going, right? Okay. Anyway, go ahead, Matt.
Like you were saying, I mean, you never know which way this is going to go. The team could rise up here and, rally around their coach.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, that's embattled. Or, they're going to completely fall flat on their face here. I'm going to take – they're not going to have much success against a very potent Washington Husky offense. Lead the nation in passing yards, average 566 yards a game. Michael Penix Jr., I mean, guy should be in the Heisman talk. He can do it all on the field, passing with his legs. Young secondary for Sparty here. I don't see how they stop this offense in Washington. I don't care where the game's played at and what's going on with the program. Give me Washington and 16.5.
You're going to give me it. All right, here's the thing. Michigan State's still a talented football team. Yeah, they I mean, this team coming off a couple of years ago where they gave Tucker the big extension. There's players there. I think this number is too big. And I think this number playing in East Lansing and a team coming off the turmoil here. So this is what I was going to get at. And Ryan, you were saying it. Last year, Michigan State had the fight in the tunnel against Michigan. They had all the suspensions. They looked to be a little shorthanded. And they went on the road to play a team who was 7-1. And what happened? We all know. They beat Illinois. Mm-hmm. I think that Michigan State rallies. I think these rallies are a little short-served. I think they're normally for about 1 week. I'm going to get 16.5 points. I'm going to get a home team here. It looks like the weather's going to be really nice. So that's actually a benefit towards Washington. Michigan State would like some wind pumping through East Lansing, maybe some cooler temps. But I still like that's too much to give there. I think that Michigan State comes out fired up, keeps it close, revenge factor from getting smacked around last year. They got to contain the deep. They got to contain the deep ball. Penix throws the best deep ball this side of Russell Wilson 3 years ago. So I just think it's too much, and I think they rallied the troops here. It's almost a prime time game. It's 4:00 start on Peacock. The East Lansing will be rowdy. That their fans will rally around the team. But I think Michigan State keeps it within the number.
Well, as you just mentioned, Russell Wilson. Let's move on to the next game, and as Russell Wilson would say, "Let's ride." All right, let's go to Syracuse at everyone's favorite former ex-defensive coordinator, Ryan Walters. This one to me is intriguing, and I hope you guys are okay with this. I'm going to open every game with a little bit of my flu. That's okay.
Okay.
So it's interesting because Syracuse is looking like a competent team. They look tough. I think they've been winning. They looked good last year. They won 7 games. They looked like they were on their way to, I think they were ranked in the top 10 to 15 last year at one point.
Yeah.
They beat Purdue last year because Purdue shot themselves in the foot with penalties and things. But we see a Purdue team who's struggling right now with defensively, they looked a lot better against Virginia Tech. But I can tell you this, having literally no fans there in that second half helped Purdue out. There was no more road environment for the Hokies. And then things just weathered away, and they ended up holding on to win. What do you make of this 2.5 point spread here, Kev?
All right, so this is one of my favorite things in college football. I've talked about it. It's my favorite bet. It's a home underdog in prime time, right? We could joke around, say, oh, players don't care about, being an underdog. The hell they don't, dude. They know that Syracuse is favored to win this game. You've got revenge factor on the mind where they had that team beat last year, and I thoroughly enjoyed watching Syracuse beat them in that game last year where they shot themselves in the foot, and I forgot what the tight end's name with multiple unsportsmanlike conduct penalties I found funny.
Durham?
Yes. Was it Peyton Durham or something like that? Right, yeah.
Yeah, Bull Durham.
Yeah, real good, darn good football player. Hurt us in the game. I think that Purdue fandom's coming out. It's their first game on NBC in God knows how long.
Man,
probably since they played Notre Dame.
Notre Dame, yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And you get that game at 6:30 in West Lafayette. That place is going to be cranked up. Emotions are going to be really high. I like the Boilermakers to not only cover, I like them to win.
I love it. I'm going with the exact same pick here. I'm taking the Boilermakers. This is the first true road test here for Syracuse. I'm really anxious to see what happens when Purdue kind of knocks them in the mouth and the head, see how they respond. Syracuse has also got a preseason All-American wide receiver that's a little iffy, got hurt in the last game, was in a walking boot. So they don't know if he's going to go. I think Syracuse is going to really have to rely on the run game here. I think Ryan Walters kind of loads up the box here, tries to force him to pass, especially if that wide receiver can't play. I'm forgetting his name right now, but
it's not Gadsden, is it? Rondé Gadsden Jr.
It might, yeah. I think that's it. Is that it? I think so.
Yeah, he had a big game against him last year.
Yeah, I think they said he's
a freshman. If it's a freshman, it's not him, but yeah.
No, it's not a freshman. It was
okay.
Yeah, I think he's a junior, but
okay, yeah.
Yeah, I if he doesn't play, I mean that's more fuel to my fire for Purdue +2 at home. And like Ryan said, I even like him to win here with the revenge factor, and I would take a little money line action.
All right, well that means Ryan Walters and his team is going to be moving to 2-1 if that happens, and I frankly am okay if they keep winning, setting up a primetime matchup with our Illini on Saturday Night Football here in a couple of weeks. So with the final game of the week we talk about before we get to the locks, we're going to go to an all SEC matchup, which a little bit of intrigue, I suppose. Florida is reeling as a program to a degree, and Tennessee's, heading in the other direction. Tennessee at Florida, 6.5 point favorite. Tennessee. Matt, we're going to start with you. What say you?
Well, I know the Swamp's a tough place to play, but I look at Florida 1-4 against the spread last 5. They're 4-8 against the spread versus their last 12 SEC opponents. And counter that with Tennessee is 11-4 in their last 15 games combined. I'm taking the Vols here. This is Graham Mertz versus Milton the third here, and I'm taking the better quarterback. I know I said it earlier in the year. I hate Graham Mertz as a quarterback. I'm just not a fan. So give me Milton. And a little intrigue here. I was reading the Vols had a little team meeting. They're 2-0, but they had a little players-only team meeting this week and just trying to get their mind right for SEC play. And I think they'll come in there very focused against a Florida team that still has some holes to fill and still kind of trying to figure out where they're going after a Utah loss on the road to open up the season.
Everything that Matt said is exactly spot on. But it's a home dog in prime time. Like, I cannot go against it. It's my favorite bet. The Swamp is going to be nuts. This is a rivalry game. This is a rivalry game going back years. So this is not like they hate each other. I mean, this is 2 SEC East opponents. They play every year. It's always one of the better games in early September. And Florida has owned Tennessee for years. Tennessee got back on that train last year. Florida is reeling, just like you said. I think they're like 1-6 in their last 7 actual games. Forget the spread; they're not winning football games.
Yep.
But they're still the Florida Gators. Like, they still recruited at a really high level. There's tons of speed. There's tons of defense on that side of the ball. I think that the crowd, the noise, 90,000+ in the Swamp. I think it causes Milton some problems. I think Florida can stay within this number. I think the crowd – emotions are such a huge part of college sports. It is why the home and road splits in college sports are vastly different than they are in the NFL or the NBA. And I think it makes a difference. And I can't give up on this. This is the only reason why I'm on this is the home dog in prime time. I actually have been rooting for Tennessee in every game they've played Florida forever. I do not like the Gators. I just like them inside the number here.
And to your point, Florida Gators 16-2 last 18 games versus Tennessee Vols. It's crazy. They've dominated this series.
The next, and towards the final topic of the night anyway, and an interesting one. I believe I have this right for you, Matt. We're going to let you start off the lock of the week. Last week you went 4-2, right, Matt?
4-2, yep.
And did you get your lock?
I did. I got my Colorado under 59.5.
So, Matt, lock of the week. Last week went 4-2, overall 7-10.
After an 0-4 start.
After an 0-4 start, but he's on a win streak on the lock. So
that's right.
That's what matters here.
That's right.
So, all right, hey, I got $10. I'm just going to put it down, Matt. What you got?
Okay. I'm going to go to Michigan and Bowling Green State University, and I'm going to take the Bowling Green State University. What are their
Falcons?
Falcons. I think that's right.
You're taking them outright?
I'm taking them 40.5. It is way too many points for me for a Michigan team that, they're going to throw it, but they have really tried to control games. I think they've won 35-7 and 30-3. Didn't cover both spreads. I think the spreads were 38 and 36 for the first 2 games. I think this number is way too much. I think obviously Michigan's going to win here, but give me about a 35-7, 35-10 final score. Bowling Green can score now. They put up 24 and 38 points in the last 2 weeks. So it's not like this team is desolate on offense. So I'm going Bowling Green Falcons plus 40.5.
I love that pick, Matt. I looked at it earlier in the week. I'm like, that number's too big. The way Michigan's playing right now, it used to be like Nick Saban would do that. They would get Alabama State coming in there, and it'd be 58.5, and the final score would be like 45-3. Michigan's not in the mood right now to just beat the tarnation out of somebody. They're going to win the game. They're going to win it handily, but I don't see them covering the spread.
Yeah, totally agree.
All right. So, Kev, You last week started out 7-4. You went 4-2. You are 11-6 overall and 3-0 on your lock. So this is what's this make? Kev is just making money. He's just making you guys money. So Kev, to give everybody to get to that 4-0, all right, to get to that climax that everybody's looking for, what say you?
This is kind of a sucker bet. So I am going to take, because it's a lot of points and it's a team on the road. But Boston College is terrible. They are absolutely atrocious. And you got Florida State that's coming in there with a Heisman Trophy hopeful and Jordan Travis giving 26 points. I had it at 25.5 before the show. I just looked at 26 now is what I see. Florida State's housing them. This is going to be something like 52-7. Like Florida State is going to just beat the dog snot out of Boston College. Boston College lost to NIU in Boston.
Yeah. Right.
And NIU, what did NIU turn around and do next week? They lost to SIU.
SIU, yeah.
Right. Boston College was in a dogfight last week with
the mighty
Holy Cross Crusaders.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, I mean, the middle
rain delays, the only thing that saved them. That's it.
The middle school Holy Cross Crusaders from Champaign, Illinois.
Yeah.
My alma mater. No, Boston College is bad. Like, it's a really bad football team. And I think that number, they were playing later in the year, I think Vegas would have this number up even higher. I know it's a sucker bet to give that many points on the road. It's an 11 a.m. start. I don't think anybody in Boston's going to give two craps about it. Boston's still, the Red Sox are still somewhat in the race. It's a professional sports town. There's no home field advantage. Give me the Noles to roll here. I did want to add, I like some other things this week, and I just wanted to add, like, they're not part of our picks. And Matt, I'd love to see if you've got any other ideas, but I like Indiana getting 10 against Louisville at home. I really do. I think that number's too big. I think Indiana's shown to be a competent football team. Now, granted, maybe Ohio State's defense is not that good, offense is not that good, and maybe we overrated Indiana's defense there. But I do think Indiana's got an extra day. They did kind of like Illinois did. They played on Friday night against Indiana State. I think we're inflating Louisville for a win against Georgia Tech, who's a decent team. And then I also like Maryland to cover against Virginia in a little bit of a rivalry game. They get them at home on Friday night, given 14.5. Virginia's right there with Boston College right now for bad Power 5 football teams. They lost to James Madison. It's got spanked by Tennessee. I think Loxley wants to make a point here. I think Virginia's defense is terrible, and Maryland's offense is really explosive. 14.5 points isn't enough there. So, Matt, you got any other action you want to share by chance?
Yeah,
this is impressive.
A little. I was looking at some other Big Ten games, and just to give the fans kind of what they want for these Big Ten games. Nebraska finally gets it done. They're at home playing NIU, coming off a loss at SIU. I mean, it's just got to be demoralizing. Yeah, I think with Nebraska's defense of how they played so far this season, this is probably a 20-24 point win by Nebraska. So I'll take the 10.5 there if I was picking. And a little bit of a kind of out of the box here, not too much, but Va Tech going to Rutgers. I think 7 is for a Rutgers team. I don't think they should be favored by 7 against anybody. Va Tech. Yeah, well, that's a good point.
Hey, who spanked UTEP? Come on.
Yeah, Va Tech's coming off that home loss last week to Purdue, and I think they'll come in there, pretty fighting mad of what happened. I don't think they're a great football team, but I think they'll keep it close with Rutgers by a touchdown at least.
Have you seen the total on that, Matt? I was looking for that earlier today.
It was like 30, I want to say like 38.5. I know. I mean, this is a like 17-14 game, or like, somewhere around in there.
Yeah. Hey, and if you're dabbling, there's another game too I wanted to share. So I talk a lot about the emotions of college football, And the one thing you can look for is teams who need to come up, right? Who need to rise. And you can look at teams who are awful coming up a real high and coming a low. And this is probably a Matt McCumber special right here, I bet, because I know he likes to take first half lines. Yeah. I'm not sure what the first half line in Texas, Wyoming is, but I love Wyoming. Wyoming. I think I love Wyoming plus the 28.5 as it is. I think the public is inflating Texas. Texas coming off a big win. They're feeling themselves a little bit. We know what Craig Bowles got a good team there in Wyoming. I think, and this is a little bit like Wyoming Super Bowl. This is a huge game for them. That's a good football team. I like to see that. I think they keep it close for a while. Texas spreads it out in the second half, but I think a first half line might be a play there.
I love that play, and I am going to play that play. You are right. It's the emotions of college football and the highest of highs. It's just human nature going to have a little bit of a letdown here. And so I'll take those Cowboys all day long first half.
On the opposite side of it, what's Alabama going to do to South Florida?
Man.
I think it's 36.5. I don't think that number's big enough. If I was a sucker to take that big of a road favorite, I might do it.
Right, man.
All right. To finish this off, though, Kev, even though I know you don't want to, you're not necessarily going to we can't physically put money on it or whatever, but I got to go because it's important. We got to do it real quick. All right, Matt, we got Illinois 14-point dog at home. They covering?
No. I have not seen anything from that Illini D that shows that they can cover 14 points. I don't care if there's changes, whatnot. I'm not going to be a homer on this one. I think Penn State scores 40 plus, and it's 40 to 17, 40 to 21, somewhere around there.
All right, Kev, go ahead, man. Go ahead.
I picked Illinois to win the other night. Like I just got this weird feeling, man. Like we're gonna there's gonna be a shakeup. This is a Brett Bielema get right game, and Drew Aller's first game on the road, and Illinois finds a way to pressure them, and they just let the dogs loose, and we make some plays in the secondary. I like it. Hey, one other little one. Hey, here. Hey, one other little bet for everybody out there. And I know we got Packer fans that listen to this. The Bears are dog shit. The Packers aren't that good. Falcons getting a point at home. Give it to me all day long. Give it to me all day long. All day.
Yep.
He just called the Bears dog shit.
And they are.
Bears fan. That was 6 pressures in that. The Bears got 6 pressures.
Let me see. No lies detected.
Right. The Bears got 6 pressures on a guy making his second NFL start. It's the lowest number of an NFL game in Pro Football Focus for over 2 years. The guy was still under 60% completion ratio. That was fool's gold. Those 38 points that Green Bay put up was fool's gold. Atlanta's got a good defense. They're at home in their dome. I like that one, but I like Illinois to cover regardless. I think it's a little bit of a get right game for Illinois. I shouldn't say that because the get right game is actually FAU, which is coming up because this is really an opponent. But I do think Illinois finds a way to rally the troops a little bit and stay within the number.
I got to give a shout out and got to pour a 40-ounce out for one of our lost on X, Big Phil. He got the boot for nothing because he was actually talking about how bad the Bears were, so he got reported, and some really butthurt Bears fans reported him for hate speech or something. I don't know. Well, anyway, he got booted from X, so I'm gonna give him some shine here. This is what he told me: the Bears. That was the most pathetic home display he'd seen in his 50 years on Earth. So he's from Homewood Flossmoor. He told me, lifelong Bear fan, he was embarrassed, so I wanted to share that with everybody here. That's how bad it was on Sunday.
I will say this. So I watched that Bears game, Matt. I don't know if you tuned in or not.
I was traveling, so I caught a little bit.
And I talked to a buddy of mine at the gym. He was at the game, and I said, "Hey, man, was it just a Fox mics, because that stadium sounded as loud as I've heard Soldier Field in a long time?" And he said, "No, man." He's like, that crowd was intense. And I mean, it was a close game for the first half, and he said it was loud. I thought that, and then for them still to lay an egg like that was interesting. But I share that because Illinois, when we saw the Toledo game, I couldn't even tell if there was a crowd there. I texted Ryan. I'm like, "Dude, are you guys loud at all?" And he's like, "Yeah, this sounds great." The fans are into it. We get a Fox broadcast this week, so for guys like me in Oklahoma City and Matt in Dallas, like who are going to watch the game, at least we'll be able to hear hopefully some crowd noise on Saturday with the Fox Sports broadcast.
Absolutely.
That's right. First 10,000 people into Memorial Stadium get rally towels. It's also an orange out. I'm excited, I think. And even though I'm not picking them to beat Penn State, Matt, I am picking them to cover the 14. I think even if it's a touchdown in the fourth quarter, maybe to cut it to 10 or something, I think they're going to play pretty well. I think they're going to respond. And this is going to be more of a Big Ten type of game. You know, Penn State has Drew Aller and explosive athletes, but it's going to be a lot of running in between the tackles.
Yeah.
You're not going to have to worry about boxing in Drew Aller, you know, and rushing three guys and playing a zone. So I feel like that's more of the Brett Bielema style anyway.
Oh, yeah. And one last one, because I just love these. I love these totals right now early in the season because they're just not ready for it. There's no way the Iowa game goes over 43.5 or whatever, 42.5, whatever it is. Iowa could probably cover the 26, 28.5, whatever they're favored against Western Michigan. But that game at most is going to be like 31-0. So if you guys want to jump on that one, I love the Iowa Western
28-3.
There you go. Like, yes, yeah. I mean that game is not getting into the 40s. I'm telling you right now. No way.
What's the most they've scored this year? 25? 24?
Iowa?
No, they haven't even scored 25.
No, they scored 24 against Utah State. It's 24 against Utah State.
So
Brian Ferentz hasn't met his quota that he was obligated. He has to score 25 points.
Exactly.
Get kept on for next season or some weird thing like that. So he has to average 25 points to be retained for next year.
All right, so maybe they win 38-0, but
I'm saying their ceiling is 28.
They might get they could get a defensive score, or they've always got good special teams, so they might pull off some scores that way. But I just don't see that game going over the number. Like there's a lot of intrigue in the lines this week for me, because I think there's not a lot of like really grab your attention games on the schedule. Next week for us will be very different. Very different. We're gonna have ranked versus ranked all over the place next week. So
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a big one. And of course we got Casey Thompson from Nebraska, who Illinois literally ripped his arm out of his socket in Lincoln, and pretty much ended his Nebraska career tenure, I think.
Well, we got the Tupac Pac-2 championship next week between Washington State and Oregon State. That'll be fun.
Hey, both playing well too.
Oh, real well. Absolutely. Colorado at Oregon, Ole Miss, Alabama. I mean, they're great. I'm so excited for next week's slate of games. I am not excited to pick them because that's when it gets really hard, in my opinion.
It will be.
All right, Kev, as the great primetime Deion Sanders said, there's only one way to end this. Hit my music.
Oh, I got to play the music?
Yeah.
I got to play the music?
Play my music. They're covering. Don't forget.
I hope so. I hope they can win, but man.
All right, that'll do it. Episode 4, Fade to Deuce. Check us out. Keep it orange and blue Sunday night. Illinois win. We'll see. Swap me out.
ILL.
See y'all. I and I.